Hi, and welcome to the second part of part 2 of Intro to Swift on Dimecast. Last time we created the first part of our master detail view, and our master view was created using a table view and a static list of assets brought in through an episode repository class, and is as we have displayed here. Now let's work on creating the detail view when each episode is selected in the master. So we'll stop our simulator and let's take a look at the detail view controller. So right now we see it has a detail description label. There's a detail item, which is passed in as any object. For us, that detail item is an episode, so we'll class it as such right now. When it's set, so you have this did set, it will call configure view. Here's our configure view function. Let detail episode equals self detail item. So what we're doing here is we're just unwrapping it, and then it does some setting. So we're going to get rid of this part for ourselves right now. We'll get rid of this did receive memory warning for the same reason as we did in the master view, just to clean it up a little. And now let's look at our storyboard. So right now the detail view has one label. I'm going to expand this label a little bit. And then I'm going to come down here and I'm going to select 4 more labels and drag them out on the screen. Okay, now that I've set those labels up, I'm going to use our assistant editor. And I'm going to bring in each of these labels as a property. So I will control, click, and drag. I'll call this one episode name. The second one, episode number. Call this one episode writer. Episode doctor. And we'll leave the last one just called detailed description label because it is the detailed description of the episode. When the item's set, we'll configure the view. So let's see what that looks like. We'll say the episode name. Episode title, and then I'm just going to map the rest of these properties. We'll fast forward through as I have those set. Okay, I've mapped all of those properties. Now we need to go back to the master view controller. When one of the cells is selected, because the storyboard has defined that what happens when you tap is you get this segue, and this segue is called show detail. So if we look at the master view controller, on prepare for segue, it asks if the segue identifier is show detail. Let's do our work. This is useful in case you have several possible segues. If controller A could go to view controller B or view controller C, you'll need to do an if check and see which segue you're operating on. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to say we're going to let an episode equal to objects indexPath.row. So we're going to pick out the exact episode that was on the master, that was on the table, the master table that we selected. And then with that episode, so the segue has 2 ends. It has the source view controller, the origin, and the destination. So the segue's destination view controller, we're going to have it casted as the detail view controller type. We're going to set this detail item, and we're going to set it equal to episode. And then after we're finished, it's just going to operate the segue. One more thing before we go. We'll go back to the main storyboard. This label, number of lines, I'm going to change this from 1 to 0 so that it will automatically figure out how many lines it needs. Left align it, We'll execute now. Alright, it looks like we're working, except we have one problem. So we'll pick this episode. Now we'll rotate to the right. You notice everything's kind of on top of each other. These three are the same, but now this label pushes up and covers over who the doctor is. So how can we possibly fix that? We'll stop and we'll come back to this view controller. And there are constraints on these labels as a default, but the truth is XCode can figure it out a little better than we can. So here's the trick. Just click on the label, come down here to this third icon, the Resolve Auto Layout issue. I'm going to clear constraints, and I'm going to add missing constraints. I'm going to let it define. I'm going to do that for each one. Okay, that's all there is to it. Let's play. This time, you notice they hold their place on the screen, and we get a much nicer view, whether we are in portrait or landscape mode. That's it for the Intro to Swift Part 2 Dimecast. Hope you've enjoyed it. So we looked at how to create a master or detail view. In Swift, we've looked at creating our own classes, our own structs, seen how to operate via a segue, how to use a little bit on how to use table views, and we've seen how to let XCode resolve some of our simple auto layout issues for us. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.